يا أيها المزمل قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا Muhammad وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Welcome to the 9th episode, and we mentioned that we're going to start the various ahkam under as-sifatul aradiyya. So the first thing we're going to be starting with is ahkamun nun sakina wa tanween. So the rulings regarding an-nun sakina and at-tanween. What is an-nun sakina and what is tanween? So just a quick explanation. So nun sakina is any nun in the Quran that has a sukun. Any nun in the Quran that has a sukun. And with regards to the rulings of nun sakina, then that sukun has not been changed to something else. So sometimes you see a nun in the Quran, it has a sukun, but it has been changed into a kasra, or it has been changed into a fatha. Then that does not come under what we're discussing. So a nun sakina is a nun that has a sukun that has not been changed into another letter. Whether the nun with the sukun is in the middle of a letter or is at the end of a letter, it doesn't matter, so it still falls under a nun sakina. And there are some more technical definitions and explanations, but that will suffice bi-idhnillah. At-tanween is what we know generally as fathatain, kasratain, and domatain. And that's when you write a double fatha or a double kasra or a double dhamma. So this is at-tanween. Why do we say ahkam nun sakina wa tanween? Why are we combining them? Because the tanween is a nun sakina also. Technically, it's a nun sakina that is not written. It is not written, but it is pronounced. Because when you say abadan, it's a hamza, a ba, and a dal fathaten. But the pronunciation, what you have pronounced is a hamza, a ba, a dal with a fatha, and a nun with a sukun. That's what you have pronounced. So it is actually a nun sakina that is not written. And the tanween in this case is always at the end of a word. It's always at the end of a word. And the rule of tanween that we are discussing does not apply when you stop on the word. So ahkam nun sakina wa tanween, with regards to tanween, it does not apply when we are stopping at the end of the word. Because remember, when we stop at the end of a word, then you generally give the last letter a sukun. And if it is fathatain, we give it a fatha with a mad, or with an alif. So the ahkam will not apply in this case. Otherwise, then the rulings will apply. That's a brief in terms of what is nun sakina and tanween. So what are the rulings that apply when we have nun sakina and tanween in the Quran? There are 4 rulings. There are 4 possible rulings due to 4 possible situations. So we have al-idhar, which is to make something clear. We have al-idgham, which is to merge something into another. We have al-iqlab, which is to change something or switch something. And we have al-ikhfa, which means to hide. Okay? So we'll go to al-idhar. Al-idhar which means for something to be clear, applies when the nun sakina or tanween is followed anywhere in the Quran by any of the throat letters. And these are 6 letters: the hamza and the ha, the ayn and the ha, the ghain and the kha. And I've said them like that because hamza and ha at the bottom, ayn and ha in the middle, and ghain and kha at the top of the throat. So these are the 6 letters of al-hidhar. And we'll just quickly give examples to that. And the examples will be when the nun, we'll first give example of nun sakina in the middle of a word, followed by any of these letters, and then we'll give the example at the end of a word, and then we'll give the example of the tanween. So for example, for the hamza you have وَهُمْ يَنْهَوْنَ عَنْهُ وَيَنْأَوْنَ عَنْهُ وَهُمْ يَنْهَوْنَ عَنْهُ وَيَنْأَوْنَ عَنْهُ. So what we're the part that concerns us for the hamza is وَيَنْأَوْنَ عَنْهُ وَيَنْأَوْنَ عَنْهُ. So we say yen. This is the nun sakina. Yen. Yen. So we are pronouncing the nun clearly. Yen. If you try that, you'll see that your tongue goes to the articulation point of the nun. And you don't prolong it. You do not prolong it. So, وَيَنْأَوْنَ عَنْ. So remember that the nun has a gunna. This is one of its characteristics. And in this case, when you do idhar, you do not make any additional gunna. You do not make any additional gunna, only the traditional gunna of the nun, وَيَنْأَوْنَ عَنْ. So that is for the middle of a word. Another example is من آمن بالله. من آمن بالله. So you don't say man, because then you are giving it an extra gunna. So you say من آمن بالله. Just simple, straightforward idhar. Make the nun clear with its sukun and move on without pausing, without prolonging it. من آمن بالله. An example of tanween is وَجَنَّاتٍ أَلْفَافًا. وَجَنَّاتٍ أَلْفَافًا. So you don't say وَجَنَّاتٍ أَلْفَافًا. You don't say that. You just pronounce the tanween. وَجَنَّاتٍ أَلْفَافًا. Okay, so the ha. The first example we gave is the same example of the ha again, or even anhu. وَيَنْهَوْنَ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنْ وَهُمْ يَنْهَوْنَ عَنْ وَهُمْ يَنْهَوْنَ عَنْ. Or you say minhum. So you make the nun clear. Another example, لَقَدْ كُنْتَ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِّنْ هَذَا. لَقَدْ كُنْتَ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِّنْ هَذَا. مِّنْ هَذَا. So you pronounce it clearly. وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ. وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ. وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ. قَوْمٍ هَادٍ. So the min is followed by ha. And you say قَوْمٍ هَادٍ. And that's for the ha. As for the ayn, for example, أَنْعَمْتَ. 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 إن عليك إلا البلاغ. إن عليك إلا البلاغ. So this is the basis. It's the original thing that something should be made clear. So we are not doing anything special. We are just making the nun clear. Inna Allah sami'un alim. Inna Allah sami'un alim. Sami'un alim. So the sami'un is followed by alim, and you make it clear. For the ha, for example, you say watanhitun, watanhitun, watanhitun. And you say tanzilum min hakimin hamid. Tanzilum min hakimin hamid. And here, two examples we have. Min hakim. Min hakim. And the hakim has tanween at the end, and then you have hamid. Min hakimin hamid. So that gives us two examples in one ayah. For the ghain, you say, for example, فَسَيُنْغِضُونَ فَسَيُنْغِضُونَ فَسَيُنْغِضُونَ. So, and you say, or in the statement of Allah, تخرج بيضاء من غير سوء من غير سوء من غير سوء من غير سوء. And Allah says, إن الله لغفور إن الله لعفو غفور إن الله لعفو غفور لعفو غفور. So that's tanween. And the kha, in one word, والمنخنقة والمنخنقة والمنخنقة. And in two words, for example, من خير من خير من خير. And إن الله عليم خبير إن الله عليم خبير. So that's for the tanween. So those are the examples for the idhar, and that applies to anywhere in the Quran. So these are just examples, and it is for one to, keep looking at this when reciting the Quran and making sure that you are making the idhar of these letters. The next rule is al-idgham, which is to merge. So what is al-idgham? It is when the nun sakina or tanween is followed by the letters of al-idgham. What are the letters of al-idgham? These letters are in the phrase yarmalun, yarmalun, ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, and nun. 6 letters. So these are the letters of al-idgham. So, and this means that you are going to be merging the nun sakina or the tanween into these letters. That's what happens in this case. Now, al-idgham is divided into 2. So we have idgham bi gunna and idgham bi ghayri gunna. Remember we said that the nun sakina has gunna. Nun has gunna as part of its characteristics. So sometimes when we make the merging of the nun into the next letters, then the gunna is maintained. And this will be idgham bi gunna, idgham with gunna, merging with gunna. And in some cases, when we merge, the gunna will not remain at all. And this is idgham without gunna, which is idgham bi ghayri gunna. So as for idgham bi gunna, then the letters are yanmu, yanmu. Out of yarmalun, you have yanmu, which is the ya, the nun, the mim and the waw. As for the lam and the ra, then this will fall under idgham bighayri gunna, without gunna. Let's give examples. So for the ya, for example, فَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ فَمَن. So you don't say فَمَن يَعْمَلْ. This is idhar. You don't say فَمَن يَعْمَلْ. So if you are quoting the Quran, you are discussing with somebody, he says, Allah says in the Quran, فَمَن يَعْمَلْ. That's fine because you are only speaking, you are not reciting. Okay, but in reciting the Quran, you don't say فَمَن يَعْمَلْ. That's idhar. And that's not the way the Quran was narrated. Okay, so you say فَمَن يَعْمَلْ. And you can see now that although what we have done is to merge the noon into the ya. We have merged the noon into the ya, but you can still see traces of the noon. The gunna is maintained. So you say فَمَن يَعْمَلْ. So you give the ya a shadda. Because you have merged the noon into the ya, you give the ya a shadda, but you maintain the gunna of the noon. So you say فَمَن يَعْمَلْ. And for the noon, you say, and these examples are generally common, مِن نُطْفَةٍ. So this is a noon connecting with another noon. So it's ordinarily min nutfa. So you say min nutfa. So the noon becomes a shadda. أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً. أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً. عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً. عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً. So you don't say عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً. No, you merge them. أَإِذَا كُنَّا عِظَامًا نَخِرَةً. And then the next one is the mim. خُلِقَ مِن مَّاءٍ دَافِقٍ. خُلِقَ مِن. So it's min. خُلِقَ مِن مَّا. Min مَّا. So you say خُلِقَ مِن مَّاءٍ دَافِقٍ. And you say في صحف مكرمة. في صحف مكرمة. So you don't say في صحف مكرمة. You don't separate them, you merge them. And for the waw, ما لك من الله من ولي ولا واق. من ولي من. So it's min. So you join the mim, the noon of the min into the waw, and you give the waw a shadda. Min waliyyin wala waq. And even the next one, min waliyyin. So there are two there. So min waliyyin is nun sakina, and waliyyin wala waq. That is tanween. Okay, so the next one is the lam. And we mentioned, so these are the ones we have mentioned are idgham bi gunna, with gunna. You can still find the traces of the gunna in the idgham, in the next letter. As for idgham bi ghayri gunna, then the noon disappears completely. The letter nun is not there, and its gunna is also not there. So this, for example, in the lam, you say فَمَن لَمْ يَجِدْ. You don't say فَمَن لَمْ. You don't say فَمَن لَمْ. You don't let, there should be no nun and there should be no tanween. So it's on you make it like it's fa, mim, then lam shadda without a nun. Although what is written is fa, mim, nun, then lam shadda. So, but you remove the nun completely and you put a shadda on the lam because the lam did not have a shadda. It has a shadda because of the idgham. So it's فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ فَعَّالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ فَعَّالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ not فَعَّالٌ لِمَا no, it should not be فَعَّالٌ لِمَا. Now there is a tanween, there is a nun. It should be فَعَّالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. And the ra, so for example, لا ريب فيه من رب العالمين من رب العالمين not من رب العالمين because that has a tanween. من رب العالمين as if the nun does not exist. رؤوف رحيم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم رؤوف رحيم. So the nun should not come out. This is idgham بغير gunna. So the lam and the ra, they are also in the category of al-idgham al-kamil, the complete idgham, because you remove the nun completely. There is no nun left and there is no characteristic of the nun left. So these are called al-idgham kamil. But also idgham of the mim and the nun also, then these are also from al-idgham al-kamil, like the one we said. So for the mim, for example, mimma. So because you can say there is tanween there, yes, but that tanween is the tanween of the mim. Mimma. So the nun is removed completely. So the same thing with idgham of the nun into the nun, then these are again idgham kamil, complete idgham. Whereas idgham of the nun into the ya and the waw, then these are called idgham naqis. And this is terminology. The important thing is to get the pronunciation and the example correct. And quickly, there are some exceptions to the idgham. Few exceptions. So if you had noted the examples we gave for the idgham, you would see that we did not give examples of the nun sakina within one word followed by the letter waw or the ya or things like that. They were all in separate words. That's because when the nun sakina is followed by a letter of idgham in one word, then idgham is not done. In the Quran, idgham is not done. Rather, you will make idhar. And there are 4 examples in the Quran. Ad-dunya, so you don't say ad-dunya, no. It's never recited like that. Ad-dunya, so you make idhar. And the next one is bunyan. Bunyan, so you don't say bunyan, you don't say that. It's not recited that way. Then the next letter is sinwan, sinwan. So again, this is nun sakina followed by wa, but you don't say sinwan because that's how it should be from the rules of idgham. And the last one is qinwan, qinwan. You don't say qinwan, which will be the normal way to make idgham. So these are exceptions to, and these are just these 4 words. These are the only 4 words in the Quran where these letters are followed by, the nun sakina is followed by one of those letters within a word. There is another exception to the idgham in the recitation that we are learning, and I should have mentioned that before, but I will mention that briefly, inshallah. But there is another exception to the idgham, and this is in the word waqila man raq. Waqila man raq. So you don't say waqila marraqa. You don't say waqila man. You don't say waqila marraqa. You don't make idgham of the noon in man into the ra of raqa. Rather you say waqila man raqa. You make what we call a sakt, a pause. You don't take a breath. You don't say waqila man raqa. No, because that is a stop. You don't take a stop to make a breath. No, you make a sakt, you make a short pause. That is not enough to take a full breath. You say waqila man raqa. So that is from the example, from the exception to the idgham. Bi'idhnillah, in the next episode we will continue with the rest of the ahkam nun sakina wa tanween. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.